Thank you very much, Professor. Thanks for being here. Thanks again to all of our witnesses. We're going to now have 7-minute rounds of questioning, and we'll see if we can fit in maybe a couple of rounds, just depending on the time that we have. I'll start, and then we'll go to the ranking member and any other members who arrive in that time. Professor Viswanathan, let me just start with you, if I could, and let's see if we can just drill down on some of the specifics here. Mr. Baldacci mentioned in his opening statement that AI could just feed dictionaries into their platforms in order to train them. They don't do that. They prefer published works, fully formed works. Why is that? Can you give us an insight into that?
That's absolutely right. They learn syntax, structure. They learn how we learn language, right? When you learn language, you just don't learn words. You don't memorize words. You don't memorize notes when you learn music. You learn structure and syntax. And the point that Professor Lee is making is correct. They need large data sets. More is better to learn predictive language models. However, more is not everything. It's not pirated works.
So let me just ask this. You said that they are not buying the books. They're not buying Mr. Baldacci's book or anybody's book who's sitting up here, anybody in the audience. They're getting them, they're stealing them, they're pirating them from somewhere. Where they, if they're not buying the books, they're not stealing them out of libraries, where are they getting them?
These large repositories of materials that are available online, there are many. Some are licit, some are not licit. The pirate websites in particular are not licit. So if you need a lot of material, you go out and you scoop up all that material that you can find. But you don't go to pirate websites to get that material if what you want to do is legal. None of these works are licensed. None of these works are licensed. No author has been compensated to date.
So how do they go to these, let's call them shadow libraries, to get the works illegally? They've already, by the time they go to the shadow library, the works there are already stolen, right? They've already stolen Mr. Baldacci's book,
Correct.
Professor Lee's book, everybody's book, your books. They've stolen them. How do they actually, when they go to the shadow library, how do they get them? I mean, how does the AI company then take possession of the particular work? Like,
There's a process called torrenting, and I will not trouble you all with the details of torrenting, but essentially huge amounts of data stream to you, and you get them. At the same time, you can send them out. That's called seeding. You can send them out at the same time. Uploading and downloading exist at the same time. This is a peer-to-peer process. So not only are you taking in these pirated materials, you are also distributing them. The violation of copyright law exists at the reproduction of these works, at the making available of them by the pirate libraries, the dissemination of them, and your dissemination, Gen AI company, of them as well.
So they're both taking the works and distributing them as well in this thing you call, kind of like Napster, this thing that you call torrenting. Let me ask you this. I mean, is torrenting legal? It's not legal, is it?
Torrenting can be legal, but in this case it is not. And in this particular case, this is benefiting the Now, I agree with Judge Alsup, who said, if you're taking it from pirate libraries, no way. That is not acceptable, right? Part of what we're seeing here, Judge Chabria said, well, it's not helping the pirate websites. Well, yes, it is. The pirate websites, there's one in particular called Anna's Archive. They actually put on their website, hey, Gen AI companies, come train on us. We'll do some data swaps, or you know what? You can make us a donation too. This is directly helping the pirate websites thrive, flourish, proliferate.
Let me ask you this. Have there been any, to your knowledge, any criminal enforcements against these torrenting platforms?
Yes, there have been attempts to. Again, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. You get one, you knock it down, it pops up again in some jurisdiction that you don't have control over.
What's the key to a criminal enforcement? You know, civil versus criminal in this context, when do we have a criminal case against torrenting? What's the key to that?
Okay, this is a really important point. What's criminal here? Criminal copyright liability has two prongs to it. Prong one is you have to do it willfully, and prong two is you have to do it for commercial advantage or gain. We clearly know that prong two is met. This is for commercial advantage or gain. I don't think Meta is doing this out of the goodness of its heart. Prong one, willful, means you need to know that what you are doing is illegal. There's lots and lots of evidence now, particularly from the Cadre v. Meta case, that shows that they knew this was illegal. They even had to ask all the way up the chain of command to Mark Zuckerberg and say, hey, is this okay? And he said, yes, it did. Yes, it's okay. So not only did he do it knowing it was illegal, he did it knowingly, he did it willfully, intentionally, and whether or not he knew what statute it was illegal doesn't matter. For this to be willful, you have to know that what you're doing is wrong, and this meets that prong. So this is, in fact, amounting to what you might call criminal copyright liability.
Mr. Pritt, let me just ask you about this, about the willful aspect. And let's talk about Meta in particular, since Professor Viswanathan just mentioned Meta. They're one of the biggest monopolists in the world, and one of the biggest AI companies now in the world, if not the biggest. So let's just talk about them for a second. Meta uses torrents to acquire pirated data for its Llama model. Is that right?
Correct.
How much data would you estimate that Meta has torrented? It's illegally downloaded and also then shared in this peer-to-peer scheme.
It has pirated well over 200 terabytes of copyrighted material from multiple, I don't call them shadow libraries because they're not libraries, but illicit criminal enterprises.
And how much has it paid the copyright holders for these works that it's used, to your knowledge?
Nothing.
If nothing, zero. So billions of works, billions of books like Mr. Baldacci's, zero payment. If Meta were to pay, do you have any idea what the cost might be? I mean, did they ever, to your knowledge, in your discovery, did they ever explore paying? I mean, is there any sense of how much this might have cost them?
Early on, they explored licensing. They assigned 2 individuals part-time to attempt to license, and they decided it would take too long, for example, and that's when they turned to piracy. At the time, they had public documents show that certainly tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, had been contemplated for licensing at that time.
Okay, so let's just think about this. Hundreds of millions of dollars, that's the value, maybe sort of the base, the bare value of the works that they've used, like the works that you all have written on this panel, hundreds of millions, and they paid zero of that. So let's just drill down a little further. Did Meta know what they were doing was wrong? Do you, Mr. Pritt, believe in the evidence you've seen that there's any evidence to suggest that Meta's employees knew what they were doing is illegal?
I think the documents that have become public clearly show that.
Let's just look at a few of these documents. I'm going to show you a few things, and I'll ask you to help me interpret them to make sure that we get them right. Let's start here with a Meta employee, a Meta engineer working on their AI project, Eleonora Prasani. She says, I don't think we should use pirated material. This is in a chat with other Meta employees. I don't think we should use pirated material. I really need to draw a line there. She goes on, I feel that using pirated material should be beyond our ethical threshold. Sci-Hub, ResearchGate, LibGen are basically like Pirate Bay or something like that. They are distributing content that is protected by copyright, and they're infringing it. How do you read this, Mr. Pritt? Does this look like knowledge to you?
That's certainly what we've argued in the case.
Let's look at another Meta employee. Here is Nisha Deo in the same chat. She replies and said, it's the piracy and us knowing and being accomplices that's the issue. This is a Meta engineer working on their AI project. It's the piracy and us being knowing accomplices that's the issue. Let's look at another one. Here is the response that another Meta engineer in the same chat gave. Well, we want to buy books and be nice, open people here, but, however, to make it happen and not letting the bad guys win, that's the beat China argument, we need to make a case fast and cut some corners here and there. We need to cut some corners here and there. Mr. Pritt, what are we looking at here? I mean, is this knowledge of illegal activity?
When they refer to bad guys, I think they're actually referring to OpenAI and other AI competitors. But yes, this is certainly one of the many documents that show that they knew these were pirated websites that contained copyrighted materials, and they were taking them for free.
So here we have it in black and white. Don't believe me. Read the evidence. These are Meta's own engineers, Meta's own employees saying they know what they're doing is ethically wrong, illegal, likely to subject them to legal liability, and they're doing it anyway because They need the money. There's a lot more here. We'll come back to this. I want to give Senator Durbin a chance to ask questions. Senator